The booster course pass for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was quite the success, and once again, we're looking at all changes and differences made for the returning courses in Wave 1 of the DLC. The second race of the Lucky Cat Cup is DS Shroom Ridge. It's a winding path through a mountainous plateau with moving traffic, a shortcut through a meadow of wildflowers, a curved tunnel, and many twisty turns along the edge. So how does the most recent update differ from past installments? Let's find out. Shroom Ridge in Mario Kart DS was a generally standard course with bidirectional traffic and a lot of spots where drivers could fall off. Despite releasing as DLC for 8 Deluxe first, renders of the track existed as far back as 2021, making it likely designed for Tour originally, being realized in the 2023 Doctor Tour. Both versions make use of a redesigned model with more railing than before, a glide ramp in the Meadow, and a way to cut through the S-curve near the end. Tour offers the same traffic behavior with a second glide ramp for soaring over the edge, while Switch boasts forward-moving traffic with an updraft that aids in the same general shortcut instead. Many other differences can be found between each version. Let's start with the gameplay changes. Straight away, we could see in DS that the traffic moved in opposite directions, fading in or out of view based on distance. There was a 13 vehicle cycle, including 2 types of trucks. More on those lorries later. In Tour, traffic continues to behave like it did before, but it no longer fades in or out. The vehicle types match those of Tour Berlin Byways 3, including the Piranha Plant pickup. Because some item boxes are stationary still, the vehicles can take them away like racers can, and sets of 2 coins directly follow some cars. Traffic and item boxes all move forward for Switch. Most coin groups do the same, but separately from the automobiles. The vehicles match those of N64 Toad's Turnpike, with the exception of the dash panel ramp truck. Along the course for both Tour and 8 Deluxe is a more proper cliff edge with rock and grass. Meanwhile, roadside grass throughout the track disappeared or became unreachable. The starting line gate bases are on the road now, making them possible to hit. A concrete barrier, that is a Jersey barrier or K-rail, was installed immediately after the first highway railing. Further ahead, a glide ramp was placed in the Meadow, differently in Tour compared to Switch. The mobile version even has coins floating above as a reward, while just flowering bushes appear here in 8 Deluxe. And for both, railing at the far end was reshaped to block off the gap. Beyond the tunnel, a concrete barrier was placed after an extended highway railing. A glide ramp was put by the ridge edge after the big bend to cross over part of the S-curve for Tour. But for Switch, an upward draft coming from a pipe carries drivers with a boost item over the valley instead. More highway railing with chevron plates was installed at the next bend, followed by a raised curb that prevents drivers and items from falling. This is capped off by a final highway railing. That's a lot of new safety. Quite a few more aesthetic changes can be observed. First, the mini-map was rotated about 60 degrees counterclockwise only for 8 Deluxe. And there are the general lighting, texture, and mild coloration differences as expected. Clouds also differ, being animated for DS, with fewer modeled clouds in Tour, and more spread out raster clouds for Switch. The booster course also has mist that crept into the valley. The sun above was included in the renovation as a whole, but it is higher for mobile. Background hills and trees originally were most reminiscent of those from Super Mario All-Stars, particularly in Super Mario Bros. 3's Giant Land. These hills now are in different locations with far fewer sporting spots. The sea of trees in the valley below was cleared out mostly, making room for a distant lake with rocks and a shore. Hillsides and ridge elements were made more realistic, even including flat rocks on some knolls. Trees in the background and along the roadside were redesigned and became sparse, and all plain bushes were uprooted. Pipes filled some of the space, providing a splash of color. Remaining plants were replaced by other vegetation, flowers, grass clumps, and even mushrooms that grew in different spots, especially around the cliff edge, around some trees, and in the meadow. Street lamps were installed all over the track too. The central lane line was simplified, while edge lines are no longer at a consistent distance from the paved edges. While it potentially is a glitch in Tour, some asphalt beyond the right edge line alternates between dark and light inconsistently. Toad and Yoshi spectators appear only in 8 Deluxe. Speaking of Yoshi, one of those 2 trucks featured nearly the same red berry or fruit from Super Mario World that Yoshi would eat, while the other, advertising fresh fish, had a Cheep almost exactly like the sprite from the Super Mario All-Stars version of Super Mario Bros. 3, only with modern wings. However, in the E3 2004 demo, an inaccessible version of Shroom Ridge mistranslated fresh as flesh. Yeah. Anyway, at the starting line, the banner was restyled a bit for the facelift, with the bases ditching the Super Mario Bros. 3 brick block design and no more mesh except at the top. At the same time, the text switched from the classic font with an orange gradient to the modern logo in solid red, including a gold border. The starting line itself had 20 by 3 checks in black and white, becoming 15 by 3 checks in white and 2 shades of blue. A starting grid was implemented in both versions, but it replaced part of the central line for Switch only. For both, the checkered concrete wall begins at the starting line this time, wrapping around the hill differently and featuring new trim. This is gray and white like the original in Tour, but solid gray in 8 Deluxe. All ivy here and beyond was pulled out for the revamp. This Mario Racing sign was removed also. The red and white checkered barrier behind it became blocks, and the hill rising from this bank became more subtle. Ahead, the loop signs were replaced by double panel chevron signs, with 2 more joining them. The chevron highway railing changed style, being topped with reflectors. These trackside banners were cleared out, and a flowering bush grew behind the railing. Their blossoms are red for Tour and pink for Switch. The sponsor sign was updated at the end of the concrete barrier. A new gray and white raised curb connects to the Jersey rail, with some bar railing along it. And another striped curb starts on the left side where the concrete wall ends, with a short amount of bar railing. This curb is red and white for Tour. The sponsor signs above were revised for the remake, and a Sunshine Parts billboard was erected next to them that replaced this Mario Racing sign. But the sharp curve sign was removed completely, along with all standard road signs beyond this point. On the other side, another flat curb begins, ending again after the bend. The chevron highway railing became shorter bar railing, with 3 chevron plates attached. A Galaxy Air sign was put above it. The cliffside continues all the way up to the next concrete wall, which has a straight edge now rather than diagonal. At the following bend, the flat curb resumes up to the rolling straightaway, along with more bar railing, and the concrete wall curves into the field rather than cutting at an angle. Across the meadow, large yellow and orange flower patches were replaced by many multicolored flower patches for 8 Deluxe, while these are all red and blue in Tour. The cliff edge is raised where the row of trees was in both versions. On the other side, the thin concrete wall texture no longer appears after the dip. The nearby signs differ in location and sponsorship, reduced from 3 to 2. A red arrow sign was situated to the right of them for mobile only. For both versions, the red and white checkered barrier was obliterated, opening to the slopes with altered topography. Further down, the flat curb returns on the right, and the chevron highway railing was modified like the first. The tunnel entrance transformed significantly. It was given metal framework, caution marks, and 2 down arrow lights. These arrows are part of the dot matrix for mobile, but they're solid for Switch. Headlights activate inside the tunnel only in this version. The redesigned interior has several new and changed features. The center line is now the solid double yellow type. Flat striped curbs were added to the sides, and both the tiles and side lights were stretched out, with fewer of each. Cables and ceiling lights on new dividers were installed as well. The tunnel exit is much like the entrance, featuring caution marks. We can see that 2 billboards were attached to the background hill here. In Tour only, the final red arrow stands closer. The chevron highway railing became much like the first in both iterations. A short flat curb joined the set, while 2 double panel chevron signs were positioned behind the K-rail. Meanwhile, a raised curb lies nestled at the cliff base now, with bar railing along part of it that is red and white in Tour and gray and white in 8 Deluxe. Another double panel chevron sign was put behind the next railing for the overhaul, along with flowering bushes. The final highway railing has a flat curb below it in both versions of the course. One last raised curb in gray and white was tucked along the left edge, spanning from the last concrete wall up to the finish line, with bar railing on the first part of it. Above, the final set of sponsor signs were replaced by a Funflower sign and the billboard encountered much earlier from the other side. And a flowering bush is visible from this angle only in Tour. Sneaky. There are a few auditory changes too. Along with the purring of the course vehicles, generic bird tweets and even the call of a cuckoo can be heard in the opening in the DS version. No track sounds other than from the automobiles exist in Tour, while ambient traffic, horns included, and generic birds fill the air for Switch. The cuckoos sadly never returned. Aww. but at least we can count on the music for Shroom Ridge. It's another jazz funk the series is known for playing, perhaps with a touch of hip-hop, consisting of synth lead, lively brass, electric strat guitar, synth bass, peppy percussion, record scratches, and whistling in the style of that from Double Dash. The original has tambourine playing throughout the piece. A muted brass drop repeats in the intro and A section only in this version. The A section has a special trumpet lead, while the repeat of the A section introduces an exclusive transform pad. Similarly, the partial repeat of the B section has harmony here only. While the bridge is like the intro, part of the brass uniquely splits to the high note and repeats the phrase an octave lower. It then presents a guitar groove that replaces the remainder of the brass counterpoint. Right on. The arrangement is a straightforward enhancement that doesn't stray too far from the source material. There's a new crash cymbal and general percussive tweaks. The bass and guitar are more active, not pausing like they did before. All brass is vibrant, forsaking muted notes. Bright keyboard chords fill the intro, serving in the way that the transform pad did. In the A section, the synth lead is more sustained and has some pitch bending now overall. This section is supported by electric piano chording, and the repeating phrase has new brass accents. The bright keyboard hits return in the B section, and the brass counterpoint is entirely different compared to the source. A slightly modified melody plays towards the end of the B section, and the bridge copies the intro and repeats it in this version almost identically. That's some solid work. And that's about it for all changes we found in DS Shroom Ridge. Both the Tour and Switch versions offer nice enhancements in the forms of an altered Meadow shortcut and a way to cross over part of the edge, but some may feel that the additional railing significantly diminishes the risk factor. But what do you think? Have you found any notable changes that we missed? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more coverage of the Booster Course Pass for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and other things Nintendo too. Thanks for watching. Until next time, ciao!